So as we move from more the classic ages of the development of Buddhism in China, we're now going to move to our next two super bhikshunis. Our first one, Venerable Miao, Wondrous West, who's been there in LA for a long time, presently looking after Buddha Light Publishing. Publications are even broader. And because this chapter 5 on contemporary development of Chinese Buddhism is bigger and it's closer to home. So on the same chapter, we're then going to join with Venerable Zi Yue, who is President of Researcher at the Institute for Humanistic Buddhism as well. So Venerable Miao Xi, please take it away.
We're lucky to follow Venerable Jue Chen because she's already waking every one of you up. Yeah, so we're happy that I have a partner and she's so bright and she got the PowerPoint going for us. Okay, so let's start.
Thank you, Venerable Rashi. I think I would have to disagree with Venerable Miao Guang when she said that this was a supposedly easy read, because when I read it, I didn't understand most of it. So when Venerable Master talks about the Qing, the Han, the Wei, the Jin, the Sui, the Chen, the Li, and Tang eras, none of these mean anything to me. So I think from a different perspective, if this book was in English and we're trying to explain this to an English audience, I think maybe we have to tailor some of the items that is more easily digestible. So for our chapter, we're discussing contemporary developments of humanistic Buddhism. So next slide. I basically categorized into 5 items. Well, actually, I didn't categorize it. Venerable Master already categorized it. So despite all of the terminology and all of the names and all of the publications, basically here are the 5 that we need to know in this chapter. What are the 5? The first one is cultural publications. The second one, education. Third one, Dharma propagation activities. Number 4, charitable undertakings. And also, lastly, international propagation. So what does this sound like? This sounds like our 4 objectives, plus one more, right? Localization. So this really, really holds true to all of us here because we are in Foguangshan. We hope to propagate humanistic Buddhism through the 4 objectives, but also to a wider audience. All right, next slide. So for our cultural publications, what are the things that we need to keep in mind? So it's from page 254 to 266. First one, wide circulation and cheap. So make sure that the books are easily accessible, people can actually afford to read it. And second one, touring to promote the Tripitaka. So we can actually tour to promote these books. Then third one is reader-friendly books. So make sure that people can actually understand it. And we can see that we've been continuing to do so in Foguangshan to make sure that all of our works are in vernacular so that we can actually understand it. And then also catering to the needs of the times. So these are the 4 things that we need to keep in mind for cultural publications. And in terms of education, what do we need? We need Buddhist affiliated education. So for example, we have Huamin College. So this is a continuation of all of the Shuyuan from the past, and also our temple Buddhist colleges. But one other thing is we have to make sure that it's a place for Buddhist youth. So not just one generation, but we have a continuation of the Buddhist lineage, and also talents are essential. So Venerable Master is always saying Rencai. So education is also really important. And then Dharma propagation activities. What do we have? We have Buddhist youth movements, radio and TV broadcasts, now we have the internet, etc. And we also need to confer precepts. Also have different activities such as Buddhist chanting and Buddhist society. So these are examples of the activities. And charitable undertakings, Venerable Master says we need to have sincere acts of generosity through forgivings, also prison programs, and allow people to have a sense of dignity when they accept our gifts to them. Also, we have to realize the Dharma's purifying effect on the mind's greed, anger, and ignorance. And the last one is international propagation. And I found this chapter very, very interesting because for the first 4 objectives, Venerable Master lists out what people have done in the past and what Fo Guangshan has done. But in terms of international propagation, I realized that very, very few historical masters were mentioned. It's mostly about what Fo Guangshan has done. And so in this particular section, we have 3 points. So worldwide dissemination of the Dharma, and also acculturating to local customs. So how do we take our tradition and then transform it into something that people in our communities would understand? And also friendly exchangings leading to the actualization of the humanistic Buddha land. Alright? So what can we learn from this? Venerable Master, what can we learn from this?
Well, we have a very good tradition. It's been since the Buddha time, so we have more than 2,500 years of tradition, teachings, development. So it's the Buddha started out in a small region in India, and then of course he spread to the entire ancient India. And after he passed on into Nirvana, his disciples took the teachings out and started to go outside of India, okay, to the northern roots. We know all of that very well, I'm sure. So we have a very good foundation. And you look at this book, we can go by objectives and our mission one by one. So you can see that starting from culture, it's already a very strong history and foundation of publishing, of circulation, of teaching, and then of course next we will have the education, all the Buddhist colleges. Over time in China, of course we're focusing on how the teachings have spread into China and how we have developed, and that's where the foundation of Fo Guangshan is, where Master came from. And look at around this room right now, we're all Asian, I would say, except for the only one and only, yeah, Oyen, okay, two, okay, they are non-Asians, right? But look deeper. Where from Asia are you from? Where did you get your education? What is your mother tongue? Okay, I'm Cantonese. Okay, and I don't even speak, when I was young, I could not even speak a word of Mandarin, okay? But now we all have to learn, okay, because this is our root. So how, now that you look around, I've been looking at, she's from New Zealand, this is America, that's Europe. You look around and look at yourselves, look at ourselves. Where are we now? Okay, where did we come from? Where are we now? And what are we doing now? I mean, we're very, very fortunate and extremely grateful that Master, after his decades of hard work and all our elders and seniors, we have temples, we have centers, we have the hardware, we have a system everywhere, on every continent. It was Buddha who took the teachings to every part of India. And then of course after China, after the 2,000 years of Buddhism in China, Master has succeeded in taking the teachings and kind of, innovation and revolutionize it and say this should be humanistic Buddhism. Oh my God. Oh my Buddha.
This chapter has two sets of 10 minutes because there's 2 of them.
Yes, thank you so much. So what are we doing as ourselves? Now that we have transplanted ourselves, we have go through this time machine, okay? We were young, we were in our own country, our own region. We became bhikkhunis, okay? And now that we are out here facing the world, we are the manifestations of Buddha himself even. Okay, people look at us, okay, do they know Buddhism? Or do they know who we are? Maybe not, maybe yes, or maybe all the misconceptions. Of course, many of us would have been asked, Kung Fu? That is a very common question. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there that we're dealing with. So ask ourselves, all the 4 missions, our 4 objectives, what have we done from the tradition, contemporary or modern?
So I think what we can sum up is actually based on this chapter, we can see the harmonization between your tradition and contemporary. So our tradition is to continue what the masters of the past have done, and we can all agree that Bo Guangshan has done all of the things that the masters of the past have done. But one thing that we need to continue to do is to expand what they have done. What they haven't done before was internalization. Okay, so I have we came up with this diagram. Is a tree, and we can compare humanistic Buddhism in terms of a tree. So our roots are the teachings of the Buddha, and our trunk are early Buddhism, and the branches are Chinese Buddhism, leaves are contemporary Buddhism, and fruits are internationalization. Great. I'm also being very, very localized here in Taiwan. My English is deproving. Yeah. All right. So Venerable Miao Xi, what can we say? So I think we're discussing the leaves, the contemporary Buddhism, but what does it mean in terms of humanistic Buddhism when we look at it in terms of the entire tree? What does this mean?
Well, I'm not actually very good in biology, but I know something about photosynthesis. Because with a plant, okay, if you have a seed, if you have roots, but if you don't have the leaves to get the sun and transform it, through photosynthesis into food for the plant will die. There will be no tree, okay? So our tree here is humanistic Buddhism. The roots, of course, we have the teachings of the Buddha. That's very big, very strong. We all have that. We need roots, right, to be firm, to stand up, okay, and to grow. And of course the trunk. Okay, the trunk, I would say, is like early Buddhism. Maybe some of you have been to California and look at those huge trees. Okay, they are called sequoias or whatever, and they are like 2,000 years old, and a car can drive through it. It's pretty, unreal. So that's the trunk. Actually, we still, people recognize, okay, from early days that there is a religion called Buddhism. Okay. And then the branches, okay, it spreads out to different schools, different regions, and of course we are Chinese Buddhists, basically. That's Chinese Buddhism, that's our branches, okay, no matter where we come from. The 8 schools or how many schools that we may be talking about, those are our teachings. But then we come to the leaves, okay, we are all leaves. Just think of yourself as a leaf, because we need the branch to hang on to and down to the trunk and the roots. But without leaves, this tree will have a hard time to survive. So we are the leaves. We have to transform the sunshine, the water, and then we may have to make it into food, okay, for the whole tree. So we are actually, the tree is humanistic Buddhism. Because we need a history, we need a tradition, we need a growth and development, but we need to carry on before we can have what? The fruits. And what are the fruits? Internationalization, okay, I got it finally. So because we are all from everywhere, I mean, we are from every continent, okay, so we are the ones who would be growing the fruits, and hopefully, we ourselves enjoy the fruits or the next generation, okay. So we're talking about the next 50 years, all right? So I won't be around for the next 50 years, or maybe too long, I don't know. They say I will live to 120. Please, no. Yeah, thank you. So we are talking about fruits. Okay, the fruit is, we have the tools, we have the teachings, we have all these tools, we have the hardware, we have the temples, we have the system. Okay, and we're very fortunate to have the support financially, volunteers, okay, we have the support already. So how are we going to grow some fruit? Okay, so now we were talking about, next slide maybe, yeah. So what is the future? What is the future? We're talking about the future. Okay, we're talking about the future. We really have to look in ourselves, okay, because people come in and don't know us and say, are you monk? No? Who are you? Kung Fu, so, and they think, oh, you're from Tibet, because they only think of the Dalai Lama. That's the only Buddhism. Are you from Tibet? Okay, I said, no, I'm from California. And they say, oh, okay. So, yeah, those are all real stories, okay? I'm not just telling jokes. Those are real life, personal experiences, okay? And also, I was in Chicago in May for the book fair, okay, Book Expo America, and I have 2 African Americans, one man and a woman. One man just very respectful and says, "Can I take a picture of you?" And apparently, okay, I'll say, okay. And then another one is even funnier, is a woman. She was walking past by, and she stopped and came back and looked at me and said, "I only seen one in books, I've never seen one in real. I've never seen one as a person." So, and that is Chicago. Chicago is already a major city in America. Imagine some lesser places, okay? So this is what we are facing. So we have to look inside ourselves. Get out of our comfort zone. How much are we willing to work on these 5, well, of course, the last one, the 4 missions plus the last one, okay? So how many of you have been using the books? Okay, they say that I'm selling books now, okay? I have to sell books because there's a for-profit, okay? I have no choice. I have to be very, okay? I don't know what's a mercenary. So anyway, how many of you are using the books? How many are reading the books? And I need the feedback, okay? How many is, and of course it's not books by us, it's also books by Translation Center, all the booklets, all the wonderful work. I'm standing, on the shoulder of Venerables Chao because she's done so much for the last 15, 20 years, from Translation Center into Buddhist Publishing, and now, because of over the years we need to reorganize. So, I'm now kind of taking care of Buddhist publications, all right? So please, I'm publications. And so all the books that's been put out, well, of course, we're not really involved in academic research because I think that should be done by the scholars, and I hope that could be encouraged, okay, when you have interactions with universities, and hopefully you can, really get connected with the scholars. And I'm so happy that Mani keeps nodding her head. So she is doing in Toronto, okay, I think doing great work there, and in Europe as well. So how much have we done? Okay, so really ask ourselves, have we connected? Have we been using the tools? Okay, and all these wonderful tools. It's not just books, the art. Okay, the okay, the encyclopedia. That's a wonderful. I couldn't wait to give those out. Okay. And education programs. Of course, we are so happy we have the colleges, the universities, all these, and locally. Of course, it depends on how big your temple is, what are your facilities, and how much support you have. Are you just, we say with one-man band, it's like you're just the only bhikkhu or / bhikkhuni there, or whether that you have a bigger place, can people stay overnight, can people just come for a day, how much support do you have, that's all education. That's all education. A meditation retreat, a one-day retreat of any kind, okay, a mindful practice, all those things. How many have you conducted? How many are you planning, okay, in English or the local language? All right, so that's education for us, because without bringing people in or going out, there's no Buddhism, okay? We live in little fortresses, okay? We are well served, well protected, okay? So we are just like caretakers of the temples, right? 我们看门的, okay? So we are not caretakers. Don't be a caretaker, all right? So, finally with the bell. And of course, Dharma activities, okay? I'm sure you're doing all of that, and charity undertakings. I'm not belittling those. But I think most of us, okay, the focus may be on the last 1 or 2. And then, of course, how can we internationalize? Okay, how can we localize? So we say that the languages say, okay, I can read English, I can translate for you, and then, but it's the English is people don't really know what you're talking about. Okay, and then you have to be sensitive to the local culture. You have to be sensitive to what are the current topics. So, that particular session by Professor Huang, right, on the current issues, that's very important. Okay, we cannot hide that. Oh, I cannot see any ISIS. They're not pointing a gun at me, so I'm fine. You never know, because once you fly around, I'm scared myself because I live in LA and there's a big target. Okay, LAX is always. I mean, those who have you have been or you have lived at Xilai, you know how bad LAX is, okay? So, but we have to fly in and out all the time, all right? And other cities as well, it's not just LAX, and in Europe now, right? So, it's not that we have to know, it's not just I keep just praying for Amitofo or Guan Yin, I'm fine, okay, I'll be protected. But we have to know what's going on outside. We have to be sensitive. We have to show the community that we are a community member. That Buddhism, especially humanistic Buddhism, is here to help everyone. That they can come in, they can come to us, we can go to them. Okay, so ask yourself, do you want to be a caretaker of that temple there and make sure it's nice and clean and people come in and out and you pay all the bills and that's it for you? Ask ourselves, what have we done? What have we shared?
So I think to recap everything for this chapter, I think the way that Buddhism has developed in China and Taiwan, in parts of Asia, is that it has based itself on the foundations of these four objectives, and it has come into flower and to have fruit. But the state of Buddhism in the West, it doesn't have all of the foundation of these four objectives. So I think based on what we can learn from Chinese Buddhism, we can use that as an example going forward into the future to propagate humanistic Buddhism worldwide. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miao Xi and Venerable Ziyue. Yes, it's a very lovely metaphor, the metaphor of this great Bodhi tree, and from its roots, its trunk, its many branches. We could say the branches aren't just Chinese Buddhism, they're all the traditions, into the leaves, the flowers and the fruit. Those of us that are on the cross-cultural boundaries, I like to think perhaps that humanistic Buddhism here is the whole tree and just blossoming, and the fruit is now perfectly ripe. That we, as either the gardeners or the farmers or perhaps just the wild animals, are attracted to this blossoming and fruiting tree to take the fruit. Of course, when you take it overseas, you have to get it past customs, because some places won't let you take it in. But when you take it there, don't just take one fruit. You need to take many fruit. Because when you plant it in new soil, in a new climate, it won't grow the same. Take many fruit, take a big bushel of fruit, plant it everywhere, and one or two of them will sprout and take root and grow. I'd like to come back to this metaphor a little bit later.